I'm gonna be a little bit mean right now. And this has to do with people who always ask, what should I do to start preparing for the SAT? I got all these books, I read all these sites and get all these resources, I sign up for your site, what do I do? What should I do to get my 1600? And I honestly just want to tell people, like, look, you have to grow up and stop being a baby, and you have to actually just sit down and do something. Like everyone always philosophizes about what's the best strategy or what's the best course, what's the best, and you spend so much of your effort worrying about that and no effort actually sitting down with a pencil in hand and trying to figure out what you know and what you don't know. That confrontation is real. Like, that confrontation is also scary, where you have to finally sit down and acknowledge, like, okay, where do I stand? It's so easy to think that there's gonna be some magic bullet solution that will fix all your problems, and I've said this countless times, it just won't. The only thing that will actually make you better is sitting down and working on problems, working on sections, working on grammar rules you don't know, working on math concepts that you forget. So like, seriously, like, stop being a baby, sit down and just do something. Can you do it for 5 minutes? That's my question I ask all my students. I bet right now, if you're in this situation watching this video and you're like, what do I do to start? I don't know, I have all these books, I have all these resources, but I'm not really sure what schedule I should follow. If you can't sit down and do something for 5 minutes that's productive, whether or not it's read for 5 minutes, whether or not it's do a few grammar questions, whether or not it's to read 3 sentences in your math practice book for your SAT, if you can't do that, then, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. After this video, if you're watching it, stop whatever you're doing, pick up a practice book, go on whatever your favorite practice prep website is, and do something. Do something that will help you prepare for the test. And the only way that that happens is doing problems, doing passages, learning grammar rules. Anything outside of that, in my opinion, is a complete waste of time. I can admit to you that I myself was a really bad procrastinator when it came to this, and maybe in some ways I still am. But nothing stops me from, like, when I realize in the moment that I'm avoiding what I really know deep down I need to do, I have to just, like, admit to myself, like, George, stop being a baby and do whatever you have to do. Sit down and do something that's gonna be productive. I don't know whether or not it's like you're paralyzed because you're fearful of the unknown, because you're fearful that you're gonna fail, because somehow if you think your schedule is tweaked in just the right way, that will be worth all your time preparing for the SAT. All of that just ultimately leads to procrastination, and it leads to wasted time. So as I said, prove to me that you can even sit down and do something for 5 minutes that relates to doing problems on the SAT, that relates to reading a book about the SAT. Not watching videos on YouTube, not reading posts on Reddit, actually doing stuff that confronts and shows and exposes your flaws and weaknesses in your game. The sooner that you can accept that, the quicker it will be that you attain your top score. If you can do 5 minutes, see if you can do 10 the next day. See if you can chain together multiple days of this and not say, oh, I did it once, George, I'm done. Or, oh, I did 2 hours one day, I'm good for the rest of the week. That's exactly what leads to panic and tailspins towards the end of the prep cycle. That's exactly what leads to burnout in the first place, where people start thinking, if I just front load all of this stuff right now, it somehow gives me a pass for other days where I don't have to do anything. So don't be paralyzed by that fear. Take it one day at a time. Try to chain together as many 5, 10, 20-minute sessions as possible until you have the endurance to be able to sit down for an hour and say, you know what, I'm gonna do a math no calculator for 25 minutes. I'm gonna go over my mistakes. I'm gonna read some of the lessons that I don't know dealing with XYZ topics that I got wrong. If you can do that and deal with it on a consistent basis and hold yourself accountable to that schedule, that's the only thing that you need to worry about when it comes to a prep schedule. I will have videos and schedules that break down what to do when you're 4 weeks out, when you're 6 weeks out, when you're 8 weeks out, when you're 12 weeks out, when you're 2 weeks out. I'll have all that. But realize, even before you deal with those types of things, if you're thinking and you can admit to yourself that, yeah, those types of thoughts of like, well, I need this schedule in place before I can do anything. If you accept that that's really a crutch, a mental crutch on your part, that you're not willing to confront the things that you know that you really need to practice, like, that's the thing that I am hoping that you get out of this. So after this video, if you're really serious about prep and you feel like you do not have a lot of time, do a problem right after this. Go on College Board, go on Khan Academy, something, anything that you need to do where you're working on a problem, and show me and prove to me that you can do it for 5 minutes.